The opposition People's Democratic Party wants technology deployed to track terrorists and solve other issues of insecurity. They've also been calling for the creation of a border security force to stop people crossing the border illegally. Arise political editor SUMNER SAMBO reports.
The PDP at this World Press Conference on the raging insecurity in Nigeria says the federal government needs to invest more in technology to tackle the increase in attacks by terrorists, bandits and other forms of criminality. Its leaders say if a Muslim cleric, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, can locate and discuss with bandits, there is no reason why security agencies cannot track the criminals.
We call for the deployment of technology in the fight against terror, banditry and other crimes. The PDP demands that all culprits should be brought to book. The apparent failure of intelligence to track attacks by bandits and follow up on them is a clear failure of the intelligence community.
The major opposition, in a clarion call, is urging Nigerians to team up with the security services to defeat terrorism. They want President Muhammadu Buhari to also sack any sympathizer of terrorists in his cabinet.
We also want to be an opposition that does not want to destroy, rather an opposition that wants to build. At the point that APC was here, all they wanted to do was to tear down Nigeria. And that is why they even left here and went to another country to solicit from the United States against their own government.
The PDP is also asking for the creation of a national border protection force drawn from the paramilitary and the military to ensure that foreigners do not have access into the country's vast borders.
This borders force should be equipped with renaissance, intelligence gathering, prevention and enforcement.
But when we talk about security, it's not about political party. It affects all Nigerians. People who are losing their lives, I'm sure some of them do not even belong to any political party. So that responsibility of government is to all of us as Nigerians.
We that are managing the state are going through horrors. We that are in the state are having it difficult to explain to our people. I have had several times people come to me and say, Governor, what are you doing? They are massacring us. I tell them that I have nothing to do because there is no security under my control. They cannot understand. They find it difficult to understand. Let us wake up and do something that is sensible and reasonable.
The PDP also want Buhari to address Nigerians on national agitations for restructuring, stop the clampdown on opposition voices, and put in place a strategic team of technocrats to revamp the economy. SUMNER SAMBO, Arise News.
Well, our political editor, SUMNER SAMBO, who was part of that meeting, joins us now in the studio to really take a closer look at what the opposition is saying in terms of dealing with insecurity in the country. SUMNER, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program. And of course, let's talk about the fact that the PDP is talking about the use of technology in battling the current scourge of insecurity in the country. Can you break that down for us as to how they say this would work?
Well, very simple. The use of drones, for example, will be very helpful in large swaths of land that we have in the country that remains ungovernable. Not because the government does not recognize those areas as having the potentials of, being secured. But, for example, we have large forests, just like we heard the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, saying that unless governors actually sit up and team up with the federal government to secure those areas, it will be difficult for the country to continue to enjoy security, because the bandits have infested those areas. And if you look at it, Kaduna State is suffering from it. Benengwari Forest going towards Katsina, where you have the Rugu Forest going up towards Zamfara State, and it goes up onto Niger Republic. Then you have Sambisa. A lot of people do not know that Sambisa used to be a games reserve. It's a large swath of land that is just there empty. Go to the fringes of Lake Chad and Nigeria, where you have the Chadian border. All those places are just empty. And then you go to areas like Niger State. a lot of forests are located in Niger State. A lot of people also do not know that Niger State is the largest state in the country. It's the size of so many West African countries. So the use of technology is very, very important at this point in time. And you could hear the PDP saying that the intelligence community has really failed Nigeria. We're talking of the Defense Intelligence Agency. We're talking of the National Intelligence Agency. We're talking of the Department of State Services. In all of this, these agencies are prescribed by law to help secure the country. If they've been gathering intelligence, of what use has the intelligence been? Now, some of the operatives of these agencies will argue that if not for the intelligence that they've been able to use, we would have been in a greater mess.
Okay.
But this opposition party says that a lot needs to be invested by the government in the use of technology. Apart from drones, you also need to have a lot of, a lot of technology that tracks people's activities online. We've seen the government cracking down on for example, bureau de change operators and all of that. But there's a lot of things that actually happen in what's called the dark web, where a lot of monies go to people who deal in terrorism and all of that. That's what the opposition party seems to be saying.
The opposition party, from your report, indicated that someone that does not even need any technology at all is the likes of Sheikh Gumi. He goes into the forest, he meets with these people, and he comes out of there without any help, without any aid. How come it seems like our security are not able to? Are they making a lot of sense from that?
I mean, that's just what they are saying. The simple technology that's even available to us, we've not been able to derive the benefits from it. That's what they are saying. And what they are saying is that unless the government keeps investing on information technology, ICTs, it will be difficult. Now, we have the NIN policy that's been put in place by the federal government. Yes, it started towards the end of last year. A lot of people believe that the government can make the best use of it. But also, the government needs to invest on, I mean, there are lots of these technologies that we have around. Towards the 2014-2015 elections, we had a lot of people in the then opposition APC saying that the Nigerian government was spying on a lot of people. If the Nigerian government indeed was spying on opposition politicians and all of that, why can't the Nigerian government also invest in technologies that would track and spy on these people who terrorize the country? And so that's why it's a very difficult thing. The opposition party may have had other things going wrong for them in the past, but on this issue, they've got it right. The government needs to invest so much in technology, wiretapping technologies.
One other important aspect of that report, and looking at the suggestions they're making, the party says they can also help the APC in tackling insecurity. What sort of help do you think the PDP will be able to offer, being that they were in power for about 16 years?
Yes, I mean, it's very funny when a lot of people hear the PDP saying that they have a lot of experience to share. What would ordinarily come to the mind of every Nigerian who hears that statement is that the PDP will want to share the experience of having been in power with the ruling party on how to tackle groups, for example, like IPOB, like other groups, agitators. There's a way that the PDP must have dealt with those groups that did not make them to become violent, that has now seen the APC dealing with them inappropriately, that's making them to become violent. The way to handle these groups that call for agitation is a way that I think that the former ruling party can share with them, because, for example, IPOB wasn't violent in the Southeast, but now we are seeing that they are violent. What's the cause of that? So I think if the two political parties sit down and share experience, it may help.
All right, so just before you wrap up, then let's ask you this. They gave the impression that year on year, corruption has been getting worse. They're not saying that there was no corruption under the PDP, but they're saying it's getting worse year on year. Is that the feeling of the citizens around Nigeria?
Well, a lot of people will also dispute that, because the government has tried its best to put anti-corruption measures, but there are also lots of people who will say that those anti-corruption measures seem to have been targeted at the opposition. So if you hear the opposition crying out this way, I mean, it's not surprising. But I think one very important thing that came out, which was a novelty throughout this PDP World Press Conference, was the calling for a border security force. It's been long overdue. We need to have a border security force that's targeted at helping us to police our borders, because the borders are porous. The formal borders are few, while the informal borders are more. So if this government actually wants to listen to some of these proposals, to take them to heart, I think this issue of national border security force is one that should be really taken into cognizance, because it's a good suggestion.
Thank you very much. SUMNER SAMBO, political editor, Rise News. Thank you very much for being on the news.